Welcome to Street Knowledge with Chris Graham.
Welcome to the podcast. I'm Chris Graham, and thanks for joining us here. We're talking this week. We're going to talk transparency in local government in Staunton, lack thereof, I guess would maybe be a better way to put it. We have with us three women who are leading an effort in Staunton to convince members of City Council who voted recently, just this month actually, to close meetings. The vote on Staunton City Council, a 4-3 vote, one of many 4-3 votes taken by this council in the last several months. This vote in particular was to basically close down the meetings the way they had been transpired during the COVID pandemic year, which we're hopefully towards the tail end of now, where City Council members could meet virtually, now requiring all City Council members to meet in person. But part of rescinding that ordinance also closed off the ability of city residents to comment via telephone, which certainly was a benefit during the COVID pandemic when folks couldn't be there in person. But it's also something we can use in the future, certainly, in the present and future, certainly. And so we have members of the coalition joining us here. Sheila Ahmadi, Jennifer Trappier, and Ann Hunter are going to join us, and we're going to talk through this. They've been leading this effort. In fact, speaking at a city council meeting recently to get the attention of city council members, I guess a nice story in the News Leader today highlighting the efforts. And Sheila, let's start with you. Take us into sort of where we are with this and what motivated you and your fellow group members to take a stand.
I think me, as well as our group members, saw the need to be able to speak out. We know that city council members are voted in to represent everyone in the community, and we were seeing that wasn't happening. When citizens aren't able to express their views, to give their opinions, whether it's related to city ordinances or just speaking on matters to the public, it shuts down people's right to engage and let the city council members know what they want, what we want. And it has caused a lot of, I would say, anger with regard to people who we vote in to take on the responsibility of representing us and taking on the supposedly take on the responsibility to listen to what we want. And what we were seeing is that people who have various disabilities, whether it's physical or emotional, mobility issues, parents who are not able to come out to meetings or not being allowed to express their voice on various issues. And the city has the funds, they have the technology, and hopefully they will have the reckoning within themselves to know that what they're doing isn't right and that we elect them to speak in a way that's representative of everyone, not a select few.
Yeah, the city's already spent a couple $100,000 to retrofit city council chambers to accommodate not just the virtual meetings, but also be able to take the live calls during meetings. And as you say, Sheila, for folks who want to be involved in local government, I'm someone, I've been a journalist for 25 years. I've been advocating for a long time. Most people vote in presidential elections, 80% or close to 80% of people who vote in presidential elections. And then it's a lower number, somewhere 40s to 50s vote in state level elections. And then in local elections, city council and board of supervisors, school board elections, it's pitiful. It can be 10%, it can be 15% vote. The local matters are the ones that are most important to you. Those are the ones who determine how much funding your school system gets. Those are the ones who determine infrastructure, whether your water service works and whether it's cost effective and that kind of thing. And yet so few of us vote in those elections. And so here, if people want to participate, they should be able to participate. And we've spent the $200,000 to get city council chambers to accommodate. And now we're shutting people away. Let's now talk with Jennifer Trappier. Jennifer, what motivates you to be a part of this and to speak out on behalf of yourself and also fellow citizens of Staunton?
Well, I think there are several things, but I come I think probably from a disability perspective. I've been disabled in a couple of ways for a number of years. And I think it changes your perspective. You see the community from a different light. And I, for one, I have some autoimmune issues and some mobility issues. And it was wonderful not only to be able to listen to City Council, which I do appreciate that they broadcast it, but also to participate, to be able to share what my thoughts and my concerns are, and to hear what other citizens are saying, because that gives me new ideas as well. And I think that's really critical. It's one of those rare times when the community can gather together and share. So I think it's disturbing. Let me back up a little bit. COVID brought a lot of trauma to a lot of people, but it brought us a blessing in that we learned that we can communicate through Zoom or other such methods. And we learned that government can proceed, businesses can proceed, and to know that we were able to do that for a year and then to have it taken away, it feels like our voices have been silenced. And that's our cry. Don't silence our voices. We care. If we didn't care, we wouldn't be participating. And it feels like our rights have been stripped away. Yeah. So if we can help people understand the variety, there's a vast different array of disabilities. It isn't just someone who's in a wheelchair, which is significant, but there are invisible illnesses. And like Sheila mentioned, parents with young children, who can't afford to leave their homes and go to an extended city council meeting. I hope that our speaking out will bring awareness to city council and to the community.
Yeah, as a veteran reporter who's covered so many city council and board of supervisors, school board meetings over the years, they're not open and shut. It's not like watching TV and you can, fast forward through commercials and they're only an hour long. I mean, these meetings go, actually Deborah Kushner, who's part of your group, sent me a link to the meeting where members of your group spoke. It was 2 hours and 6 minutes into the meeting where you guys actually were able to start speaking. This isn't for the faint of heart. I mean, you have to be a part of the process quite a bit. The city noted, and actually something you said there, Jennifer, the city sent a press release out last week hyping the fact that they're still going to broadcast the meetings, which is great. But, one thing that watching a meeting doesn't let you do is, as you said, Jennifer, you can't participate. And what happens is when the city council is hearing from both sides on an issue, and they hear, for example, if it's a rezoning and they're hearing from the applicant, they're hearing from the city staff, and then they're hearing from some folks who maybe have some issues, the city council tends to vote right after that. And if you as a citizen want to be able to participate, you've got to either be there, for the last few months, you didn't have to be there. You could actually participate by phone. But once that vote's taken, it's over. That's it. You can't revisit that decision. So let's bring Ann Hunter in the discussion now. Ann, same kind of general thrust of question there. What motivates you to be part of this? And what do you think are the most important issues for city residents here?
Well, I'm also very concerned about inclusion, and that every Staunton citizen who wants the opportunity to comment on the issues that City Council is discussing is entitled to that opportunity. And when we start eliminating the call-in option, then all of a sudden they're cut off and their voices are suppressed. And that is not an inclusive government, which is what their vision statement, the mission statement says, that they pride themselves in how inclusive they are as a city government. So I'm very concerned about that. I have been participating in city council meetings for between 3 and 4 years now, and have really valued that. Local self-government is to me a big priority, because the decisions that are made by your city government, with ideally the input from citizens, are the things that impact us directly. And so I have always cherished the opportunity to participate in public hearings and matters from the public. And then with COVID, I was encouraged by the number and variety of people who would call in and express themselves. And then you would hear other people speaking, other citizens, and you could respond to what they were saying. And it just felt right. It felt like good governance in a democracy, the way it should be. And so we were shocked when that opportunity was suddenly eliminated. And I was just started thinking about the people I know who've been participating during COVID, the ones who are protecting their health, the immune compromised, one woman who takes a pain medication and cannot drive after 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so for her to be able to participate publicly by phone was also very critical. And then I know mothers, single mothers with young children who suddenly could participate. So, I mean, the list goes on and on, people with chronic illnesses. And just to hit that point home, you know, with another personal example is when we did an action last Thursday where we went to City Council and we read that statement that I think Deborah sent you, the statement that we made.
Yes.
One of the concerned citizens joined us in reading that statement to the City Council members at the end of the meeting. And she came with a cane to the meeting. She has been participating by phone in public hearings and matters of the public, but she was so distressed about her rights to do so being eliminated that she joined us and came with a cane, and she could not stand up to read her part of the statement because, I mean, she could eventually, but it was a struggle to get up out of that chair for her. And so I'm looking at her and I'm just getting more and more angry that they have made it difficult for her to participate. But she's so determined to have that right that she was part of this action, no matter how big the challenge was for her. And something's wrong about that. And I want to emphasize that this is we're not a partisan group. This is about democracy. And this is about open government, good governance, open and responsive and accessible to every citizen who wants to be a part of local government.
What really stands out about this to me is that I've seen this phrasing actually both in the News Leader and News Virginia. And so I'm kind of repeating the framing that we're getting of this issue is that April 8th, when this vote went through to repeal the uncodified emergency ordinance, what we found out is the council was informed by the city attorney that it also removed the ability for citizens to call into meetings. So what we're being told there is that the city council either didn't know that ahead of time, which is hard for me to figure, or that maybe we're just being fed that line because if it was a mistake, okay, you can rectify a mistake, and maybe that's what the goal is. That the goal of this group is to say, all right, if this really was a mistake and you didn't mean to do this part, you just wanted to get rid of the virtual meetings and have the council members back in attendance. Hey, if it was a simple mistake, you can pass another ordinance at the next meeting. Is that sort of the goal of this group?
Well, I don't think it's a mistake. Because,
I don't think it is either. No.
Because of course, a number of citizens were upset when they found out that at that meeting that they could no longer call in. And her Mayor Oakes's justification was, well, it's tradition, pre-pandemic tradition to do it this way. And you can always email or call, the next day, the city clerk and leave a message. Well, that's nothing. That's not the same. That's not participating in a public forum, and that's not good enough. So if it was a mistake, she wouldn't have said that.
I was trying to provide an out for them so they could have face, so they could change this because that's the next step. It clearly wasn't a mistake. I'm thinking like a negotiator trying to say, here's how we can fix this. If you want to think it's a mistake, then fix the mistake. I agree. That clearly wasn't a mistake. So let's see. Let's go back to Sheila. Sheila, I'm pinpointing you and it's unfair. How do we fix this? How do we get city council to rectify this?
think we just have to continue to put pressure on them and let them know that their paternalistic stance that we know what's best for you is not right. You know, we have a range of citizens in this community, and we need for them to know that they can't treat us like, I guess, like Marie Antoinette, feed them cake, you know, just do it in a haughty way, like, you know, they're discounting a segment of the population here in the community. And so we are going to keep the pressure on, because I think the more that they see us, the more that they know that, you know, they cannot get away with this, you know, that eventually I think they will come to terms with this, because I think at some point they're going to get worn down by what we are saying and what we're telling them, what is the voice of the community.
Do I understand correctly? Is there a petition drive that has been initiated to get more numbers behind what what you ladies are saying?
Yes, we
Yes.
have a petition that's been going on, I guess, since yesterday, and more people are signing on, and we are encouraging people through Facebook and various social media segments to let people know that it's important to do that. And as you said before, with local government, many people are not as engaged in city government, but it's really important because that is where everything is the heartbeat of the community, like education for kids, you know, healthcare, whether it's physical or mental health care, transportation, recreation, you know, all those things are what, you know, makes a community.
Oh, we're recording this on Tuesday night. Against the backdrop, really, the news is still fresh. The conviction in the George Floyd murder coming down just a couple hours ago. Who runs your police department is also determined by who you elect to city council, and so and how they oversee that. I mean, among the departments, we think about other things. We think about who picks your trash up and your water and your utilities and in schools and things like that. But you know, if we're going to be able to address as a nation our problem with police, the way you start doing that is you have oversight through your city councils and boards of supervisors in Virginia, and that's why that's another reason it's important to vote. Jennifer, some thoughts from you about where we stand in this process and how we get to the next step.
Well, I think first is elevating the issue. It's allowing the community to know what's happening and to make them aware of the importance of city council and how it affects their daily lives. So that's the basic. And then to make sure that city council is aware that we're not just asking, we're demanding that they give us a voice. That is our constitutional right by the federal constitution and by our state constitution. They work for us and we place them in office through our vote. And I think it's important that they know that we care enough what happens and the decisions that they make.
Even if we were asking to put a new system in place that cost money and do this, and let's do this now, that would be a very just request. The system's already in place. The technology's already there. That's the frustrating thing about this. And maybe some last thoughts from you about this and where we can get to the next step.
Well, we're not going away. So we're going to continue to put pressure on them around this issue of phone access and remote access to public hearings and matters of the public, but also to, right now it's a government of a few for a few, and we're not okay with that. So we're not going away for that reason too. This is just one example of them behaving that way instead of being a government for the majority. And so we're going to stay around until they become a more representative government. And so we're building out, we're involving more and more the community in this campaign. And I like that slogan by Reverend Barber from the Poor People's Campaign. I think it fits us really really well, and it's stronger together, not one step backwards. So that kind of describes us.
You know, we should be looking for more ways to get people to participate, not less. That'll be my last editorial comment on this on the night. Well, I want to thank Sheila Amati, Jennifer Trappier, and Hunter for joining us here. And let's just call this the first podcast of this nature we'll do, not the last. We have a ways to go, and until we get the attention of leaders in Staunton, let's keep this conversation going. So, ladies, thank you so much for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you for listening to Street Knowledge with Chris Graham. Get up-to-the-minute local news, politics, and sports online at AugustaFreePress.com.